and gentlemen, let's talk about the socialism lie. The socialism lie. So for decades, there's been a certain group of elites doing what elites always do, and that's try to control the masses. They do it with religion, they do it with patriotism, and they definitely do it with fear-mongering. And one of the most classic forms of fear-mongering in the United States of America for decades has been socialism and communism rhetoric, right? Let me tell you the truth about socialism, and let me explain what I mean about when will conservative men finally man up and stop allowing these elites to treat them like a bunch of BI, you know what, and spit in the face. They'll get, and the funny thing is, it's an upside down world we live in, right? They'll totally get upset with me for telling them the truth, right? But they got no fire for the people that are treating them like garbage, treating them like they're stupid, like they have no ability to think for themselves. For decades, there's been this rhetoric about socialism, the Red Scare, right? Communism is going to take over the country. First of all, you've got to be an absolute lunatic if you think socialism or communism has any chance in this country. Not any way close to what you guys are thinking anyway. This is a strongly capitalist country, right? And from capitalism, you get a lot of accumulation of wealth. You got billionaires, millionaires, you got these major corporations, and they will do anything that it takes to stop this country from going in that direction. Hence all the Red Scare talk, right? What do you think is behind some of that stuff? So it ain't happening, man. It's not happening. So if you're worried about that, you're a sucker, and you're falling for these elites and manipulators BS, right? And it's time to grow up and man up and start fighting back and saying, stop the bullshit. Especially when someone is out there who claims to be a conservative. You're a conservative media person. You claim to be conservative. And here you are insulting the intelligence of conservatives by playing them for fools with this, communism, everybody's gonna have the same pay, and then there's no incentive, there's not gonna be any incentive to work, and like what the actual, you know what? Here's the reality. Let me give you an example. This guy who looks like he might just be the next mayor of New York City, he's a democratic socialist. I'm so, man, look what they got me saying. You see what I'm saying? They even affected me now. It only got me saying this BS. He's a oh my goodness, democratic socialist. Holy crap. He's a democratic socialist, right? Socialist is already a very dangerous word, inflammatory word. It's been sort of, you know, the right-wing movement has been brainwashed with it for a very long time. So that alone, the truth is bad enough. But rather than saying that, people like Ben Shapiro, they got to amp it up and say, no, he's a communist, right? And then if you try to challenge them and say, why do you call him a communist? He says he's a democratic socialist. Why is that communist? Well, you know, what it is, you know, socialism is just basically a gateway into communism. Right? They got all the talking points. Socialism is just a gateway into communism. That's all it is. But really, what it is communism. First, it starts with socialism, and then the next thing you know, we're communists. When are conservative men going to man up and fight back against the nonsense? So I'm going to tell you two truths about socialism that you're not going to hear from a single right-wing influencer. None of them will tell you this.
Caution.
And this is the unvarnished truth. I'm not a leftist, I'm not a centrist, I'm not a right-winger, I'm an independent. Right? I'm a political dissident. I'm not part of any of these BS tribes, and I'm not part of the BS enlightened centrist whatever. I am a radical, but I'm not a radical that is, I guess there really is a speed trap up here. I'm not a radical member of one of these tribes, right? I'm radical in terms of I believe in drastic changes for this country. The kinds of changes that I believe in are relative to the topic at hand, right? But I'm not for status quo, and I'm not for a little bit around the edges. I would like revolution, right? That's where I'm coming from. I'm alone. I'm isolated. I know I'm not literally alone. There's other people who have similar views, but it's extremely rare. Most people, because it's uncomfortable just being by yourself. Most people choose one tribe or the other, right? I reject all the tribes, and that's where I stand. So here are the two uncomfortable truths that no right-wing influencer will ever tell you. So number one, we already have socialism here in this country. And the people that are fear-mongering about socialism, most or many of them benefit from it and have no problems with the socialism reality, right? What they're fear-mongering about is bad faith extremist interpretation. I'm gonna explain to you, I'm gonna give you a bonus. I'm gonna tell you how the game is played. What you do is you want to use fear of socialism to manipulate and control the masses, right? So what you do is you create the most extreme and radical representation of socialism or communism. Communism, you get a little dangerous there. Socialism, not so much. You come up with the most radical definition of it, representation of it, and then you promote that. So I can almost guarantee you, if I were to talk to the average conservative, 95% or more of them, if I asked them what would it be like if we had socialism here, 95% of them, their answer would be the most extreme representation. But I can almost guarantee you they would never think that way in terms of capitalism. Capitalism at its extremes is very dangerous. A lot of human suffering, a lot of deaths can come from capitalism out of control, fully unregulated. Just let the billionaires take over, let the corporations take over. But these same people would never ever say that the kind of capitalism we have now is it's only a stepping stone. The next thing it's gonna be the billionaires are gonna be president. Well, that's literally happening now. But the billionaires are just gonna take over our entire government, just overtly do so. They never have fear. There's no fear about capitalism going too far. You can never have enough capitalism. More. But if we talk about even an ounce of socialism, even an ounce that we already have, we'll get into that. It's a gateway to communism, right? Oldest trick in the book. Let me tell you something. In this country, we already have socialism, right? And I'll give you a specific example. So, if you're a conservative man, listen closely. This is one of the tricks that these dishonest people, some of who are not even actually conservatives, conservative influencers supposedly, but they're not really conservatives, right? They're anti-liberals. They are basically opportunists. But anyway, here's an example. One of these guys will talk about the new potential mayor for New York City. And they'll say, you know what this guy's trying to do? He's trying to do government-run grocery stores. First of all, the most dishonest of them will pretend like he's trying to turn all the grocery stores into government grocery stores. And then the highbrow version of that, if I challenge them with what I just said, they'll say, no, no, no. First it starts with a few, and then it's going to be the whole thing, right? Again, never a fear of capitalism going too far, right? You'll never see these right-wing influencers talking about we got to constrain these corporations, right? Unless it's like ideologically convenient, right? But otherwise, they're not worried about too much wealth inequality or these billionaires buying off politicians. They got no worries about that, right? But a few government-run stores in New York City, the next thing is going to be communism, and they're going to take over all the stores, right? That's how they, you see how it doesn't make any sense. It's not logical, it's emotional. Here's the other thing. We already have that in this country. We already have government-run stores. There's there's state liquor stores. I think there's already government supermarkets. You never hear about it, or they would never mention that. They would deceive you by pretending as if this is some kind of new concept. Like, oh my goodness, government-run grocery stores in America. That's sacrilegious. Meanwhile, it's already done. It's been done for a long time now, right? And they weren't making videos talking about, oh, we got to shut down these state-run liquor stores. Oh, it's socialism. They're not talking about that, right? But because this guy's a democratic socialist and they try to make that money, oh, let's fairmonger about socialism. Oh, they don't have government-run stores. In socialism, you collectively take money from the masses and you reallocate that money, right? You reallocate it for the benefit of the community. So for example, imagine an idea like having a public hospital or public roads or a police department or a library, right? I don't go to the library. I don't need a library. Why is the government taking my money to go pay for a library, right? Maybe I ride my bicycle everywhere, right? And I'm on the dirt roads, I'm on the sidewalk. Why is the government taking my money to build roads, right? We already have this redistribution of wealth happening in a socialist manner in this country. We're not all privatized. Right? Everything is not privatized. Our taxes go to fund a lot of things publicly. That's what they're talking about doing. They're talking about doing exactly what we're already doing. But these guys will deceive you and pretend as if like this is something new. Oh my goodness, the country's falling apart. Socialists are going to take over. Let me tell you the other really inconvenient truth. And actually, let me go get my stuff before the store closes. I gotta go to Tractor Supply. So you love capitalism? Well, you won't believe where capitalism is thriving in this world. If I tell you where capitalism is thriving in this country, in this world, you will be surprised. Do you know where capitalism is thriving? Well, it is in China. You heard that right. Okay. China. I'm gonna break it down for you in just a second. We're gonna break it down in just a second. So, for all this talk, oh man, holy crap. for all this talk about communism and socialism and all this kind of stuff, and capitalism is the way to go. Capitalism is thriving. Why is this thing upside down? Why is this thing upside down? Holy crap. What am I supposed to do with that? I rotate it, it rotates back. What the hell? Okay. Oh, look at that. Look at that. So, yes, capitalism is thriving in China. China is the second largest economy in the world.
Caution.
Last time I checked, China has, I believe, more billionaires than anywhere else in the country, right? Capitalism is thriving in China. I actually knew a guy who was a young guy, maybe in his 20s, and he started his business in China. He's a Chinese guy. Started his business in China, and he was making electric skateboards. And I watched him scale up, and he was doing real good, man. So small businesses are thriving in China. Big businesses are thriving in China. You got people with a lot of money, multi-millionaires, you got billionaires, right? So think about that for a second. So you're being told that socialism is bad, right? Socialism is bad. Capitalism is the way to go, right? With socialism, everybody makes the same money, and it's going to be empty shelves, and you know it's a bad thing, and there's no incentive. And why would I create a business if I'm in a socialist country? You know, what's the incentive? Everybody, if everything's free, and everybody, and of course everything I'm saying, and that's the thing. It's interesting. Some people don't understand how bad things are in this country, how toxic our politics are. That they will think that what I just said is like, I'm like, this is like ultimate dunk. Got him. No, man. They will talk around pretzels, everything I just said. Oh, that's in China. Chinese people are different. In America, our culture, people are lazy. You could do that in China, and maybe it works in China. Everything works everywhere else but here. The same people who say this is the greatest country in the world, right? It's the greatest country in the world, and America's amazing, and oh, no. The same people saying that are the same people saying Americans are a bunch of dumb, lazy fucks, right? Chinese are studious, right? So you could give them free stuff, and they still gonna hustle, and they're gonna learn stuff or whatever, but Americans suck. That's what the patriots are telling us, right? The so-called patriots are telling us how much Americans suck. Right. To be continued. So please explain that to me. How is it possible, if socialism is so bad and it's so opposite of capitalism, then what the fuck is happening in China? Why they got all them billionaires? Why they got all that wealth? I believe they've lifted a lot of people out of poverty. Now, truth be told, and this is how people talk out of both sides of their mouths, right? They love to talk about Communist Party China. Just so people don't make a mistake, think I'm like a pro-China. No, I'm pro-truth, right? I tell people like it is the raw truth. Listen, I'm the guy who will not install TikTok on my phone. I don't want any goddamn Chinese app on my phone, right? And privacy concerns, that's the lowest on the list, right? I'm thinking about cyber warfare. We do not have a good relationship with China. I don't want their stuff on my phone that has access to my bank accounts, right? So I'm not no pro-China shill, right? But I am pro-truth. And the truth of the matter is, people, they switch up their story based on what kind of rhetoric they're pushing, right? On one angle, China is evil, and they're communist, socialist, whatever, and it's bad, and whatever it is, right? But then, if I talk about the positives, about them lifting people out of poverty, I talk about all the wealth, then all of a sudden, oh, that's because they wised up and now they're doing capitalism. So wait a minute, are they socialists or capitalists? Like what are they? Of course, it's not black and white. Just like we are not black and white. We're not like a capitalist country, right? We are a hybrid, right? We are a democratic republic. We have bits of socialism here. We have a lot of capitalism here, and it's just a matter of how much of each. But you have these people manipulating you into this black and white thinking where, socialism bad. That's it. There's no sort of nuance to it. There's no sort of understanding like what does socialism even mean, right? Because they will tell you what it means. They'll give you the worst definition, the most extreme definition. It's this bad thing and no incentive and everybody's poor and the shelves are empty, right? They won't want to have an honest conversation about what it really is, right? Which includes the good, the bad, and the ugly. They just want to talk about it as like fear mongering. But then when you talk about the positives, then it's like, oh, that's because of capitalism. Okay. Bottom line is, capitalism is doing perfectly well in China, a place that does not have the freedoms that we do. You have government censorship on the internet, on social media. They got the social media score thing. There's a lot of insanity. You have these left-wing people that like to talk like China is a great place and, America likes to talk bad about China, but China's actually great and they're taking care of their people and blah, 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 blah. But the reality is, two things can be true, right? They brought up a lot of people from poverty, but they also, they don't have a lot of freedoms there, right? But the reality is, however, if a country with the lack of freedom, a country like China, could be doing so well with capitalism, then why the hell does it make any sense to act like, oh, a guy talking about a few public grocery stores, oh my goodness, oh, capitalism, blah, blah, blah. Like, what? Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. So my thing is, when are you guys gonna man up and realize that you're being manipulated and understand the truth and actually start pushing back against these disgusting people who claim to be conservatives, but I don't know if they really are conservatives or not. I know they're opportunists, I know they're liars, I know they're manipulators, but I want conservative men to stand up, speak up, shoulders back, head up, stop focusing on what they want you to focus on, right? You have these very wealthy people that are telling you every single day the liberals are bad, the left is bad, the liberals are bad, liberals, Democrat. Okay, that may be true, but I want you to spend, how about this? How about you spend half your time with that same energy going after the dishonest, disgusting people on your side, right? Because if you spend all your time focusing on the other side, the side that you don't have a lot of influence on, then what does that accomplish, right? You're sitting there complaining and whining, oh, liberals this, liberal that. You're a conservative. You're in a conservative area. You're in a red area, right? You're voting for red people, right? You're voting for Republicans. That's where your power lies. That's where you can change things and make them better. So how about you focus on that? Focus on going after conservatives, going after conservative media, going after Republicans, right? Because these are the people who have the power over your lives, where you live, assuming you're in a red state. Obviously, not every conservative lives in a red state, but most of you do. And yet you're focused on things like New York City. Why do you give a rat's ass who's the mayor of New York City when you live in Oklahoma, Mississippi? Like, that's insanity, man. Stop letting these bullshitters, right? You, the conservative men who are out there working on the farm, working in the mechanic shop, you're doing your small business, whatever it is. You're out there actually working for a living and providing for your families. While these bullshitters are sitting in their little studios talking about, trying to control you and distract you from what's really happening in this country. I think you guys need to man up, and start pushing back and saying to these people, stop with your bullshit, right? Socialism bad is on some bullshit. It's just the same bullshit that you have these leftists talking about the capitalism bad rhetoric. Unregulated capitalism is definitely bad. Unregulated anything is definitely bad, right? So unregulated socialism, right? Well, that doesn't really make any sense, but you know what I mean. Like, you gotta have regulations, you gotta have some constraints. Um, you you can do socialism in a very bad way. You can do capitalism in a very bad way. So it's not that socialism is bad or capitalism is bad. It's doing things in a bad way is bad, right? You can do socialist policies in a good way, like the way we do in the United States of America, with our libraries and our firemen and all the other public services that we provide. We take money from people and redistribute it for the many, right? We can do it in a good way. There's a good way to do it. People have done it in a bad way, so just don't do it in a bad way. But this thinking of like socialism bad, no, it's not bad. It can be bad, just like capitalism can be bad, right? That's the whole thing. It's not a thing is inherently bad. Socialism itself is not inherently bad, right? It's how you do it. And that's why these manipulators like to illustrate only one way of doing it, which is a bad way, right? They talk about everyone making the same money and the most extreme. And why do you think they want to make the democratic socialists a communist? Because of communism, that's on an extreme level. So that's actually where you might have everybody making the same kind of money, right? That's on an extreme level. So the truth about this new potential mayor is actually not a big deal, right? So they gotta lie and say he's a communist to make him an extremist to make it a big deal. That's a manipulation trick. And I want conservative men to man up and be like, stop the fucking lying. Ben Shapiro, Steven Crowder, all of these assholes. I want the loudest voices calling them out to be conservative men. Stand the fuck up and stop allowing these bullshitters to manipulate you and treat you like you can't think for yourself, right? The socialism bad narrative, that's for children. Let's act like grown men and think for ourselves and stop letting these millionaire elites tell what to do, right? Let's truly be independent. Let's truly think for ourselves, right? All right, guys, this is the Baby Channel, the Baby comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell. Be well. And I'm out. I'm out.